Welcome to the Wealthy Life Podcast. I'm Sybil Verch, and what if I told you that the biggest threat to your financial future wasn't the markets, wasn't a bad investment, wasn't even the amount of debt you carry, but in fact were the things that you and your partner did not say out loud when it comes to money? Joining us today is Heather and Douglas Boneparth, co-authors of Money Together. They have spent years helping couples turn money arguments into money teamwork. So thrilled to have them here today. Stick around because you're going to learn all the tips and tricks to improve your money situation with your partner. Heather, Douglas, welcome to the show.
Hey there.
Thanks so much for having us, Sybil. We're so excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you, and I know you guys have so much to share. And before we get into it, I'm going to ask you my favorite question. What does living a wealthy life mean to you?
Oh, the minute I knew we were going to discuss this, I said, I know exactly what I'm going to say. It's about having the time to pursue the things that you want to do, period. To me, money and time are inextricably linked concepts. And it's about the freedom to do what you please with your time, whether that's professionally, personally, anything.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Douglas, what are your rolling your eyes? What about you?
No, I knew she was going to say the same thing. There is no greater definition of wealth than being able to choose what you want to do with your time, right? We think about the things that are most important to us in our lives, right? And this is not my order, no specific order. It's usually time, money, family, right? And for a lot of people, religion too. These are like the top four. So without a doubt, my number one is time, right? Because you don't get any more of it. You don't get any more of it.
No, you can make more money, but you can't make more time.
That's right. That's the whole point.
You can free up your time. You can prioritize how you spend your time, but you can't create more time. I love it. Thanks, you guys. So what inspired you to write the book?
Well, we felt like people weren't having the right conversations around money at home. And we knew that because we weren't having the right conversations about money at home.
Correct.
I mean, it's pretty crazy when you think about, I was a corporate attorney in the commercial insurance industry for 10 years. I am not at a loss of my ability to ask the right questions. And Doug has been a personal finance expert and a certified financial planner for more than 20 years. And if we could not find a way to have constructive conversations around money and around what was really going on in our house, then what was everyone else going to do? And I say that, not flippantly, like, oh, what's everyone else going to do? But truly, we had all the professional tools to be having the right conversations, and we still felt like there was more going on than what we could actually put words to. So we wanted to explore a little more of why that was, what was missing, and what were the tools that we could help put together for other couples that found themselves in the same situation in different moments throughout their lives.
So what were some of the disagreements you guys had? Like, what did you struggle with?
Yeah, so things really kind of tipped the other way. To just dive into a little bit of our story here. Heather's been holding it down, or was holding it down with a corporate job while I grew a business, right? So I was the risk taker. She provided the family with its stability and its benefits up until a time where, like, hey, this thing's, getting off the ground here. But if I was left to my own devices, I would not have taken a pause without Heather's help to say, hey, things are actually not fair as they once were.
I think that couples find themselves, there's multiple points of conflict, right? That just come up naturally in the life cycle of a relationship. But I think what Doug's trying to describe is the moment where incomes flip, where the person who starts out as a breadwinner suddenly becomes the secondary income, and and how the power dynamic in a relationship and in a household might shift when that happens without having conversations around other responsibilities in the home. Something else he touched on too is this idea of risk and who's allowed to take risks and when. And maybe there's a point where the person who was the risk taker is no longer really being that risky anymore, and that we have to acknowledge the fact that it might be time for the other person to be able to step into moments in their career and take risks that they weren't really able to do. So like, those are just very, very common points of conflict and things that we just experienced firsthand. Like, we thought we had it all figured out.
Right.
When I was the breadwinner, but holding down a very stable W-2 salary, and Doug was able to go and grow his business. Things were working out that way perfectly fine for like a prolonged period of time. And the things that happened that changed that were, we had children and a COVID, the pandemic. And it truly flipped upon its head our entire setup and structure, because when we moved into that phase of our lives, suddenly I was no longer the breadwinner. Doug was earning 3 times my salary when all of these external factors, these things kind of like happened to us. And we had to ask ourselves questions about whose time was worth more and who,
Well,
Oh, that'd be challenging.
Heather, I think Heather, by the time we decided to make this change, was working the equivalent of 3 jobs. Like, none of this stuff is linear. Like, life does not work like that. And I think I fell into the trap of thinking, okay, cool, here we go. We'll just keep going in this direction. But what was really happening is Heather was taking on more and more work, both inside the house. I was putting more work as far as the firm was. I always obviously went to her. I always say she built it with me, but she was also an attorney working a real job and being an amazing mom. There's like 3 or 4 different roles right there. And we never recalibrated for that.
I think that what it comes down to is that people get really set in the ways they do things. This is like painting with the broadest strokes humanly possible. People get very comfortable in the way they do things, even if those aren't the right ways for them to be doing things. And also people who maybe made decisions many years ago, financial decisions, household decisions, life decisions, many years ago, and they may have made them with the greatest of intentions, and they may have completely made sense, but those decisions may no longer make sense for the life they have or the life they want.
Yeah,
and
things change.
Things change. And I think that is the crux of the most difficult part of this, right?
That's the only certain thing, is that it's going to change.
Oh my gosh, I have such a similar story, because when I was building my business as a wealth advisor 30 years ago, my husband was a fireman and he's now retired, living the good life. But, prior to that, he was the breadwinner, stable income. I was growing my business. Sure. And then it flipped. And there was some interesting dynamics that happened as a couple. For us, sounds similar to you, whereas you've just got to get in your own head and out of your own head, I guess, and just change your thinking on what that means. He was the first fireman to take a parental leave. I mean, I didn't take a leave, and even just that dynamic was wild. But we are lucky that we do openly talk about money on a regular basis, and we don't have the spender-saver dilemma. Like, that's something I see often with couples. There's one is a saver, one is a spender. And then when it comes to their investment portfolio, one is a risk taker, one is ultra conservative. So that can create a lot of conflict as well. They don't agree on how to invest the money, how to save the money, how much to save, how much to spend. What do people do about that?
Yeah, so this whole book is designed for you to be able to do the work that allows you to get to the reasons behind these discrepancies. The individual work you need to do and the group work or the teamwork you need to do to bring it all together. There are reasons why you have gotten to a point in life where you're risk off and you don't want to take that risk. Same for your partner, right? What was their story that got them there? Do you know that story? Imagine not knowing the why behind why your partner, the person you love, feels the way that they do about money, this thing that is part of their life every single day. Let's go deeper.
Yeah.
Imagine not knowing your own reasons.
I was just going to ask that. What if they don't know? What if I don't know?
So that's
how do
where
you figure out?
We have a whole first section of the book about our beginnings and figuring out how our culture, religion, upbringing, socioeconomic status, and all of these things.
And any adverse childhood experiences that maybe you have either failed to connect or don't want to connect.
Right,
to
you
your
block it out.
Present day behavior, right? Because you've blocked it out. I mean, I can't tell you the number of people, and I'll admit that I've been guilty of this too. I think it's very easy to like look back at things that happened earlier in your life and say, yeah, that wasn't great, but well, it all worked out.
Yeah, I should be grateful.
I'm successful now. I should be grateful for how things turned out. It's not the healthiest way to go, right? To not address those. I mean, sure, that may be your end result, but to bury the reasons why you feel the way you feel, It's not the way to go. And I think that's why this is also complex, because we rush to looking at the present day conflict, when in reality, this is so much deeper than the surface level point of conflict around money, right?
Right.
Because it is self-work, couples work, psychological work from our past all the way to our present, before we're even able to sit down and say, in the most empathetic way possible with your spouse, hey, I understand. And to really mean it, say, I understand now the reasons why you feel the way you feel. Now, how can we move forward?
Well, and not only that, but it helps you in every aspect of your life. I think doing the work yourself, you benefit immediately as a human being, as an individual, let alone the benefits of coming together as a couple.
There is no question. When I think a lot about, I spent 2+ years interviewing couples for this book before we even started with our best in class experts who are amazing, who are in the book. But I spent 2 years speaking with couples from all different walks of life. And the perspective that I have gained around my own life, just from kind of like embodying the spirit of some of these conversations, it really changed my idea of like what it really means to have enough, not just climb for the sake of climbing, not just look for the next thing, not just be so rigid in my own, not only my financial goals, but any goal that I have in my life. Yeah, my ambitions, to kind of view it all a lot more dynamically and just with a lot more perspective. So yeah, like this is the kind of work that changes your perspective around life, not just money.
Well, even your comment about having enough. Having enough means different things to different people. And we see some people chasing these big dollar amounts, and it's never enough. They can build 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, and it's still not enough. And that to me signals some deep-seated issues that maybe need some addressing. Can you share some examples of some upbringing or beliefs or things that have happened to people that shape their futures?
Absolutely. We spoke to these people and interviewed them for the book, specifically what you're referring to. Take the entrepreneurs. We had a couple, both, absolute bootstrap, hardworking entrepreneurs, and they admitted to us that it will never be enough. Even if their startup was successful, even if they got the goal, they won't be able to fill the need to continue climbing. And we dived into why, that is. And for them, we went to culture. We have a whole chapter on their culture. What they were allowed to do for a living from their parents. Hey, you can only do these jobs, or you need to be able to make this money, or you can't talk about this. This is not your place to do it. It could be any of these reasons.
Right.
From the dinner time conversations and the relationships that they had from their parents and grandparents that put them in this position of, there's nothing I can do here but continue to move the goalposts with what it is. Not only do I have to build, but I have to keep building forever.
I'll share a very specific example. We interviewed an incredibly impressive human. He's a neurosurgeon. I wish I had the resume in front of me. He's brilliant. He's amazing. He also had an incredibly difficult childhood. He faced
Housing insecurity,
food insecurity, truly did not have a safe upbringing at times.
Raising his younger brother.
Raising his younger brother. And when he grew into his early earning years, he overspent on things like keeping a full fridge. He wasted food all the time. He said, I wanted to know what it felt like to have a full fridge all the time. And things like overspending on clothes. It was interesting because he was earning a lot of money, but he had taken on credit card debt to overbuy something like jeans. He had like 40 pairs of jeans. There was something about believing that he could buy his way to the feeling of security in that moment in his life. But in reality, he wasn't chasing, he was running, because he hadn't yet addressed the fact that these childhood experiences wasn't just, I'm successful, so it all worked out for the best, right? Like this idea.
Oh, what a great story.
Yes, he really, and you know who helped him do that? His wife.
Oh,
his wife, who finding the love of his life and helping him say, you know what? His name is David, to be able to say, it was his wife who said, I need us to find ways to enjoy what we have, to enjoy our family, for it not to be more like, I want this, I want that. the rest, the enjoyment, the being together, and things like family vacations, something he never really envisioned himself being able to do and take that time. And like he's doing it, and he credits his wife for giving him, I believe. And look, I'm no psychologist, but I've spoken to a lot of them for this book, and I think that she made him feel safe enough to be able to kind
Actually
of like
pause, enjoy.
to pause and enjoy his life, and to kind of start viewing these things differently.
So many people overspend. Like this is a common problem. I think, social media contributes to it.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's like, we used to call it keeping up with the Joneses, whatever you want to call it. And that instant hit, that high you get from buying something new.
Yeah.
But guess what? It doesn't last. And if you can get down to the root of the problem on why you feel the need to overspend, then you've got a shot of correcting the behavior and having a healthier financial future and a happier life.
Oh, without question. I mean, when I think about the ways that, especially social media, the way that we live such a different and visible existence from even like a decade ago, even 15 years ago, I think that it's really insidious. And even if we know better, right? Even if we know better, we know this isn't real. Like you look at some of this, we're like, this can't all be real. How can they really do this? And you're looking at it. But there's also like a secondary question in your brain. It's like, could I do that?
Yeah.
What would I have to do? I mean, I'll give you a great example. Like, forget about like the crazy vacations, things like that. I look at like kitchens.
Oh, yeah.
If I see, it's not just, right. It's not just,
Go on.
no, it's not just my point, lavish vacations. It's looking at someone else's kitchen.
Home decor, it's a big one.
Home
I'm
decor,
guilty of that too.
Cooking, right? No, I am very guilty of it. Like I know, right? I know better, and I know how expensive they are. But it goes from, wow, that's a really nice kitchen, to in my brain, what would I have to do to get a kitchen that looks like that? I can't help myself.
Not whether you believe this is by design or just a product of where we are in terms of how noisy things have become through social media, through news cycles, through what you see across the street with your neighbor. I want to point out that it is increasingly more difficult to not get caught up in the dopamine hit that you mentioned, right? Instead of the thing that brings the true happiness and meaning to your life. And in the context of this book, we're very well aware what we're asking people to do is play a very long and hard game of building the discipline that's required to get to the big reward of a lifetime of happiness, of enough.
And to stay focused on what your priorities are as a couple, because like Doug said, I mean, not only are we living in a noisier time than ever, but the barrier to spend has never been lower.
Yeah, there's no friction now. You can swipe.
It's too easy.
It's too easy to do all that. Almost feels like it's by design, because it kind of is.
Yes.
But what it really does is continuously take you away from the thing that does deliver the long-standing joy and happiness that you're looking for in your partnership, and you're looking for in your life and your family and all of those things. Heather used the right word. It's insidious, and we really would love to help people break away from that and apply themselves to the thing that does provide what it is they're looking, or I hope what it is they're looking for.
Well, I just had a thought, as you're talking about this process and digging deeper and having real conversations with your partner and learning new things about each other and about yourselves that you didn't know before, not only does that bring you closer together, but I gotta think it increases intimacy. So maybe even get a better sex life out of it.
You might.
Hey now. I mean, win-wins across the board, right?
I think generally to that point, I think that when people feel respected,
seen, heard,
and seen, not only seen for what they want out of this life, but seen for the contributions that they make to their family, to their partnership, to their household, I think that increases intimacy, right?
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. Okay, I want to dive into, you've got 5 main themes that you cover in your book from a money and relationship perspective. Why don't you touch on all 5 of those?
Okay, sure.
I'll start with the first section, which is beginnings. No better way to say this than your story being your story. We want you to be able to understand how your upbringing and conditions create your own money script is a popular way of saying it, but your attitudes and feelings around money that leads to the behaviors that you have. And you need to do this to be not only self-aware of your own behaviors, but you then need to be able to share that with your partner so they are aware and can be your teammate and say, hey, you're doing that kooky thing again where you just bought the same shirt in another color. Like, gotta slow down. Gotta slow down. I know you're brand loyal and everything, but maybe that's not the right priority. But I know why, but we know why that is, right? Because there was something, let's say in my past, I wanted to be accepted in high school. So everyone was wearing Ralph Lauren polo and it had to get every color and pattern. And how crazy is it that something like fitting in from your childhood still shows up in your behaviors around money and spending today?
Oh my God, you hit the nail on the head with my
It's
husband.
innocuous, but it's true.
Oh yeah, your husband's like this.
Yeah, and Heather, you're pointing at Doug going, yep, that's his story. That's
But she
his
doesn't
story.
she doesn't shame me for it. She goes, hey, bud, are we doing this thing again? I'll be like, yeah. Not like, I can't believe you spent, another $60 on a shirt you already have. It's just, hey, look what's going on here.
But
because I'm aware of it.
He just found a new
Yes.
brand of shorts that he really likes, and he's already gotten a couple. And
Me
he was like,
They're great.
he's like, what do you think about me getting two more? I said,
No.
you're doing the thing. You have a couple. Why don't we wait? Instead of being like, I can't believe you did that. It was like, hey, this thing that you tend to do is happening. Why don't we wait and see? And maybe you'll find something else you like somewhere else.
Put it in the shopping cart, but don't check it out. Just let it sit there for a couple of weeks.
She'll go beyond. She'll like, hey, check it out. I put a couple things in a cart for you that I think look good. She actually went above and beyond to say, I see you like that.
Wow.
Maybe want to go in this direction.
But I think the point of beginnings, of how we've chosen to start this book, is so that people, like I said, people can learn to accept that this is self-work before it's couples work.
Well, and I like that because on the origins part, you think about the kids who grew up in poverty or didn't have much, and maybe their clothing is hand-me-downs or thrift store buys. Meanwhile, all the kids at school have all these flashy new things and name brand, and that could impact people's decisions later in life without being aware of it. The other example is those people that lived through my grandparents' era, the Great Depression, when you had nothing. And people can either react to that probably in one of two ways. One is you have this scarcity mindset. So every decision you make for the rest of your life, if you're not aware of it, is just way too frugal, way too thrifty, hoarding behavior I've seen. Or the other, and I've seen this happen too, whereas people then, they just have their head in the sand, they ignore what the money situation, they just rack up debt galore and they go for it.
yes.
Both are bad.
Heather's going to get into the second section, but I just
Okay.
wanted to build on that with one thing. Take it to the other extreme too. We talk to people who come from immense privilege. And we'd say, well, what was it like to have a brownstone, on 59th Street? And they'd say, I went to school with kids who owned real estate across the entire block. And, whoa, sure,
Yeah.
you're very wealthy, obviously. But his story is his story. He felt a certain way about the fact, I know champagne problems, but that person's whole attitude towards money is based on their own experience here, where there was even wealthier people.
Oh my gosh,
It
yeah.
exists across the entire spectrum of wealth.
That's come up so much for us this year, and in our work and in speaking with other folks, and even in reading books and things like that. Like I think that people lose sight because they think about themselves, and they think about, I think we all run the risk of becoming the arbiter of who had it worse, right? Like we're all creatures of comparison, even with the people that we love the most. Sometimes we're the hardest on the people that we love the most.
Right.
So it's very easy to say well, my childhood was worse than yours.
I can get more credit for that.
Or we really encourage you to understand your money lens, and where it came from, as well as your partners, to build that bridge of empathy between the two of you, because that's the landscape that you need to be able to have these conversations about today. So the second section is called mistakes. And that is not me telling you necessarily what we think is a mistake in your life.
You've all messed up.
It's about, no.
Yeah.
It is about when something hasn't gone the way you wanted it to, how you move through those moments in your life.
Or don't move through them.
Or- Or you don't-
Right.
or you can't.
Get stuck.
And
Yep.
and so, that is everything from a mistaken mindset. That's where we speak about never enough, this idea of, how do we move past limiting mindsets to things like shame and where shame lives in our life, and the dangers of letting shame shame you out of feeling like you deserve a voice in your relationship when it comes to money. We talk about shaming your partner and not letting go of those little things that maybe were not a big deal. I mean, there's a difference between a mistake and a misstep, meaning a mistake is something that gravely impacts your financial life, but a misstep is just a small step in the wrong direction. And not to conflate those two things, because the way you talk to your partner about money matters. If you as a spouse feel like you need to be their white knight, their savior, you're making a bigger deal, you're aggrandizing these small things that happen to your spouse. Like, let's say you helped them pay off $5,000 in credit card debt when you were in your 20s. That does not make your partner any less capable of making financial decisions today. You're 40 years old. So we try and offer those different perspectives in this section. And of course, we also speak about the hot topic, financial infidelity, which everyone likes to talk about. But we have to address it, and we address it in the context of understanding maybe when it's time to move on and when you can heal and when you can't.
So what do you mean by financial infidelity?
Well, so folks there are actually, we adopted oh my goodness, I wish, again, like I had it off the tip of my tongue. There were some studies done on this topic that had an excellent definition of financial infidelity. And it's a 2-part definition, which as a lawyer, I love prongs. I love like a test, like a 2-part test.
The lawyer in you.
Right. I mean, and so the idea, the definition that we adopt from these researchers in our book is this idea that financial infidelity is making a financial decision or action that your partner would disagree with. And then the second prong is covering it up.
Oh.
And so that, I think
that's not good.
That is critical, right? Because there's a difference between a little white lie here or there, or an omission. Yeah. Saying, okay, I went to the store and I spent a little bit more on this one thing than I should have, and that's okay. And I'm not going to bring it up. It's not a big deal. There's a difference between that and saying, I made a financial decision. Let's say I made a large purchase that was well outside the scope of what I would normally do, and my partner and I usually talk about these things. And I'm going to go out of my way to be sure he doesn't find out about it. Yeah. That is financial infidelity.
Toxic for a relationship.
Toxic, and can break trust just as hard as actual infidelity and sexual infidelity.
If not worse.
No. So what's the third thing, Douglas?
Yeah, well, this is really Heather's baby in the entire book. Contribution. I'll tee her off. You
don't need to tee me up.
No, there's 0% chance she doesn't stop me from talking somewhere in this section of the book to, dive into it, as she should.
This is incredibly important to me, as Doug mentioned. Contributions is this idea of reframing what it means to contribute to your family. I think that we as a society can have way too narrow of a lens about what it means to provide and who is a provider. Mm-hmm. You don't only provide by earning an income and contributing your money. We contribute our time, our love, our care. The purpose of this section is about elevating the status of caregivers in your household. And so that we know that people who are dedicating a certain portion of their time or energy to the family, to the household, to those invisible and visible responsibilities of the load of being that primary caregiver, to be sure that they are being treated not only with the respect they deserve, but that they're given the time to, as my friend Dr. Corinne Lowe says, being self-actualize themselves, so that the person who's the caregiver does not lose themselves in the narrative of their family. And so this is incredibly important to me, because when we talk about equity and about maintaining a voice in a relationship, and when you see partners step out of the financial conversation, when you see them disengage, I mean, it's not anecdotal. I can tell you, it's when there's children, it's when life gets busy, it's when someone steps away from earning an income. These are just some of the circumstances in which someone says, I don't really have he can handle it. I don't really need to know what's going on anymore.
Yeah.
Or I don't have the time. I'm so overwhelmed with everything else. I'm not receiving enough help from my partner. And that's the only thing that he's got covered from start to finish. So I'm going to shut that part off because my mental load is too large and I don't want to think about it. But that is so dangerous. Not only dangerous because of how relationships can end. I mean, I don't have the statistic, but I think we know, more than 50% of relationships end in divorce. But not just that, but for when other things happen, things other than divorce happen. People get sick.
Look, that hit home. That hit home for us.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what started to happen here is where, fairness and this idea, again, fair is not equal here, but what was fair in terms of the way that we both were contributing to our own household, that scale just went completely the other way from where it was. And we're fortunate that not only did we catch it, but we're able to produce, some work around to help other people. But we can speak to firsthand how corrosive that is to the longevity of your relationship, your ability to communicate with your partner. Yes, to be intimate. All of these things are the result of not paying attention to what that fairness gauge is. And you get to, as a couple, to define what that is. And if you're not even most people are not even having the conversation around that. So I think it really hits close to home when, the results of this is what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and the ultimate point here is that all time is created equal for both partners.
Yep.
Regardless of who earns more income. That is the point of this section. And that really is the great equalizer when we talk about what it means to live a fairer relationship. So that is the third section. The fourth section
It's power,
is about
right?
power.
Which they kind of link when you think about
do.
the
Absolutely.
value of contribution. And if people put more emphasis on money than time, then there can be a shift in power dynamics based on who's earning more money.
Oh, it feeds the thing we're trying to reframe with that
Okay.
lens, right? It just feeds I just made all this money so we can do all of these things. I don't need to do anything else around here. And that is just a fallacy. By the way, you would not have been able to make all of that money if you didn't have the support and contributions of the person that was literally allowing you to do that with your time.
Obviously.
When you unbundle it, you're like, wow, that sounds really dumb. And it's because it is, but it is linked to power, right? And this is a really dynamic section because we're talking about things like having power over someone, giving power to someone, receiving power.
Section offers a little bit of tough love too.
Yeah.
Because I think that we want people to feel empowered and to realize that power isn't something you have to take from your partner in order to get it.
Yeah.
That you can be empowered financially within yourself. And that there is a sense, again, like how we started with this idea about self-work, there's a piece of this that does require you to step into your own financial power as well. Like we can't just be pointing the finger at our partner. Like we have to do the work as well.
Okay, so on that note, I got to ask, because this is another common scenario I see where one part of the relationship, one person, is head in the sand when it comes to the finances. They let the other person do everything, make all the decisions, and they have no idea where they stand financially. I mean, to me, that's giving up your power. And it's
100%.
okay to delegate, but I feel like everyone needs to know where they stand. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you're really getting into it there. We have a pretty strict philosophy on this, is that yes, you can delegate. Like I'm the financial advisor. I'm going to do some of these things a lot more effective, but there is no world in which Heather doesn't know the ups and downs and left and right of our entire financial life.
So the point being, you can delegate tasks associated with your financial life, but you cannot delegate your responsibility to know where things are and to be a part of the major financial decisions that are being made.
This shows up in arguably the worst of places and the worst of times. When there is a crisis, an emergency, or something going on, obviously the final thing, death, right? This is where it shows its ugly colors, because you now have someone who has no idea. All the responsibility has now been put on them, and they're lost at arguably the worst time, when they're grieving, when they're experiencing some of the rawest emotions ever. And there are plenty of stories we share in the book, but these are the ones we don't like to share because they're awful. They're truly awful. And you could say, oh, I've taken care of everything for that person. And maybe you have, but did you sit down and show them everything and how that is and why that is? Probably not. So extremely important that everyone's on the same page. And we talk about this in the context of how to actually have money dates and consistent meetings with your partner so that you're not just talking about numbers and spreadsheets and investments and things that a lot of people are like, I really don't, I'm out of my depth there. When Heather says we're talking about time, are you getting what you need to do the things you do to provide for this family? Am I getting what I need? What are our goals? How can we get there together? Is this something we should even be doing right now? A lot of the things you talk about in these meetings around your money often have very little to do with money at all. Yes, 100% you need to know your net worth. You need to know where your assets are. You need to know what liabilities you have and where your money comes from.
Access also, like this
Huge.
is in today's like digital age, you would be shocked, or maybe you wouldn't be shocked. But
Many would be.
Many would be shocked at how many spouses don't have easy access to their joint financial accounts.
Yeah.
And don't have, the passwords saved on their phone or anything like that. I mean, there are little things you can do to increase access, and that increases awareness.
Yep. Yep.
So
I hear you. We've actually created an estate planner guide, a workbook, which you don't need to think death for this booklet to be helpful. Just getting all of those things down on paper together, where things are, where are your assets, where's your liabilities, where are your passwords? What do I need passwords for? Who's the accountant? Who's the lawyer? Who's the insurance person? Writing it all down in a booklet so that where you both know where to access, oh my gosh, it's such a peace of mind.
Having a business continuity plan for your life
Yes.
is incredibly important. And just, I can't tell you how many women have said to me dismissively, well, I trust him. I just trust him. He can handle it. I trust him. And I said, this isn't really about trust.
No.
You can trust him. This isn't really about trust. There's a lot of what ifs in this world that put you in the financial driver's seat of your family's life.
Yes.
Not just trust.
You got to be able to do stuff. Like there's
Yeah.
actions and things that need to be done in order to facilitate your financial life. And you got to at some level understand that.
So this is a natural segue to your fifth core pillar.
Yes. Yes, it is. So we began the book by looking backwards and we end by looking forward. And we talk about risk, about what ifs, about this idea that one of the greatest things that you can do is embrace the reality of uncertainty, because none of us really know what's going to happen tomorrow. I think that is, but we like to tell ourselves that we do, right? So we get really caught in this very rigid way of thinking about not only what we do today, but about the path we need to take to get to the next thing tomorrow. But then something could come and upend your entire path to get there. So what we hope to do in our section around risk is help you embrace the fluidity of uncertainty and take away a piece of that fear, the fear of not knowing, because the fear is what makes us shut down, and say, hey, guess what? Things are uncertain. I know that's scary, but guess what? With uncertainty also comes the possibility of possibility. This idea of like something really amazing could happen as well. It's not all bad. There's many, many paths to getting to this thing that you both want down the road. And I think we mentioned this earlier when we were talking about points of view that people are diametrically opposed on. Like if you have a spouse that is very, very risk averse and you are very, very risk on. I mean, look, again, this takes you full circle. A lot of times this comes from a place of long ago. And that itself is really puts you in a vulnerable place because you're fighting with your spouse about something that actually is really personal to you.
Yeah.
Like you're saying like, I don't want to invest our money and I'm terrified of investing our money. And he says, I don't understand why we can't be more in the markets than we are. And again, like when you don't understand why that is and where that comes from, that makes it very hard to make decisions now. One of the things though that I like that we offer in this section when we talk about decision making together, and is about this idea of compromise and what it means to compromise. And that if either one of you are going to sleep at night terrified of the joint decision that you made, that's not good. Terrified or angry about the joint decision you made. However, the best compromises in the world leave both parties a little bit uncomfortable, because that means that you both stepped maybe a little outside of what you would have done on your own in service of your partner's belief, their risk philosophy, and what they want. So
I love
somewhere in the discomfort of the uncertainty is the right answer here. And so, we just want to leave people with this idea that that's okay, that none of us really know, right? Because with the tools that we have in this book, and with the way in which you can communicate with your partner now, you can embrace that uncertainty, and you could say, whatever life throws at me, we have the confidence to know that we can address it together. That's really what we ultimately want to do.
That's a great key message. Is there anything I haven't yet asked you that I should have?
It's a great question.
It's a good job.
I don't know. I mean, we really covered. I think that this was just the most humbling experience. Truly, we spoke to people from all walks of life, and I guess we did talk about this too. But I always like to say that, like, I just feel very grateful for having the perspective of being led into so many different people's lives. And the thing that I hoped to offer readers from this book is a glimpse into people's lives that are different than theirs, in hopes that they can gain a little bit of perspective about their own life through reading other people's stories too. Like, this is yes, it's a guide, and you're going to receive a lot of prescriptive advice, but this is really a book of stories that are about love, that just happen to have money as the main feature in them. And so I want people to really find a piece of themselves in here, and use that to improve their life.
Well, that's beautiful. So where do people go to get a copy of your book? Hold up your book. Got to see it?
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
You can go anywhere. Your favorite online or local bookstore will have a copy of Money Together, but you can go to domoneytogether.com and learn more about it.
It's also available in audiobook. If you're more of a listener, you can.
Narrated by Heather. There's a moment where I talk, but it's more.
I was the narrator. Wait, and if you and your partner, actually, I thought of this after we had already done it, but if you and your partner would like to, approach this book together,
we always
doing it through audiobook might be the greatest way to do that.
We always thought people would just pass this book back and forth, or I'll finish it, you finish it, or maybe you'll even buy multiple copies. Who knows? Maybe get crazy out here. Someone told us they had downloaded the audiobook, and as they were doing chores on the weekend, they put it on in the house so they both can listen together.
Oh, that's great.
That was really cool.
Or driving together, doing a road trip together, throw it on. I love that. I love that you guys have done this. Thank you so much. Like, not only is this going to help people with their money relationship, but it should help with their relationship overall, increase intimacy, and, building a strong, happy future together as a couple is just magic. So thank you for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And thank you to our audience. We appreciate your follows, your shares, your likes. What would you like us to cover next? Let us know. Go to thewealthylife.com. As always, please seek independent professional advice before taking action. We are here to provide information to help you learn and ask the right questions to make smart decisions so you can live the wealthy life.